thank you very much for joining us here today. It's lovely and cool in here, so you can kind of like relax, chill out, as we have a really good, really good, interesting conversation about AI and creativity. As you know, the AI conversation has dominated here at Cannes, but it's been very much about speed, it's been much about taste, it's been pragmatic, agentics, all of that in terms of the tool. But we are all creatives on this panel, so we're going to talk about how AI combined with our imagination can become the new creative power duo. So with that, I'd like to introduce you to my fantastic panel here, and I'm going to start at the end. So we have PJ Pereira, and he is one of the leading creative minds at the intersection of advertising, storytelling, and technology. He is the founder and creative chairman of Pereira Odell and founder of Riverside. PJ has been behind groundbreaking campaigns and award-winning work that has redefined digital storytelling, branded content, and he's known for blending creativity with innovation. His work continues to shape the future of advertising and brand experiences globally. And you have been a jury president for Cannes, what, 3 times? 3 times, fantastic. So you know your stuff, right? You know your stuff. You know your stuff. Yeah. Excellent. And I'd like you now to introduce you to Vince. Vince Lynch is the CEO of, is it IVAI or 4AI? Oh, sorry, 5AI.
It's IVAI.
IVAI, yeah. Because
we don't tell people what it is.
No. Oh, really? I saw it as Roman numerals, so I was like, 5. Is it 5?
Right. Think about it, right?
Nice. And he is a pioneer in artificial intelligence, data, and consumer intelligence. And through his work, Vince has helped brands better understand culture, conversations, and audience behavior through AI-powered insights. His perspective on how data and technology and how it's reshaping communication and decision-making continues to influence brands across industries. So, another person who knows what he's talking about. And then we have Anna. We have Anna Luculano. Did I pronounce that correct?
Luculano, but yeah, it's impossible, I know.
Apologies. And she is the managing director in Italy of Explain AI.
This is the right pronunciation, thank you.
No problem. And brings experience across AI, business growth, and innovation. So I like all the topics that all of you cover here. I think that's quite cool. Her work focuses on helping organizations use intelligence, technology, and data to create stronger decision-making and more meaningful customer engagement. So through her leadership, she continues to explore how AI can support creativity, unlock new opportunities, and drive transformation across industries. That was a long that was a sentence. And then finally, we have the lovely Meera Chandra. And she is the founder and CEO and chief creative officer of Tigress. I love the name of your agency, by the way. And an award-winning creative leader with decades of experience across advertising, branding, and digital storytelling. She is known for her bold thinking and her culture-driven approach. Meera continues to champion creativity that connects deeply with people while embracing the possibility of the future. So I'd just like you to welcome my panel, please. Thank you. Let's get into it. So, PJ, since I introduced you first, I'm going to start with you with the first question. And you have been at the forefront of blending technology and storytelling for years. You have a very, very extensive career, not only here at Cannes, but in what you've been doing for a long time. How do you see AI then changing the future of creative storytelling and branded entertainment? Because I know those are the sectors that you work across.
Right, can you hear me? Good?
Yeah.
This is one of the most fascinating years. I've been coming to Kent for 27 years, my 27th year here.
27?
27.
See,
yeah,
told you.
So I've been here quite a lot. I've seen a lot of discussions. This is, for me, feels like year one. I think that we should actually look at this as if we were inventing, if this was the first year that we ever discussed how brands and consumers should be talking, this is the real conversation we should be having, and this is what excites me the most. We are looking at completely new rules, and a board has been set up in a completely differently, and that's what makes me excited to go to work every day. And the good thing about this is that when rules are reset at this level,
Yeah.
the gap between people who know very little and people who thought they knew a lot gets smaller. I would say that there has never been a smaller gap between interns and CEOs in the history of any business, but in ours in particular. So I a historical opportunity for all of us to either make the differences bigger and be remembered as the generation that really screwed it up, or making it smaller. I feel like, oh, those are people who just got it right. Hopefully, we're in the good side of story.
Awesome. Could you just expand on the point that you just made there about the distance between people coming into the industry and the CEOs or the C-suite? I find that fascinating. Yeah.
So imagine this: when I started my career, it was in the beginning of the digital days. I was a junior in the agency, and the CEO of the agency. He knew more about advertising than anyone else in the company, except for me, because I knew something that had no idea what this internet was.
I see.
When I talk to my interns now, I know enough about what's happening. I'm following the news on the AI world, and I'm following the trends in advertising. But what my interns know, it's kind of almost at the same level that what I do.
I see.
This is a great opportunity for them. It's challenging for me, but I don't mind being challenged. For them, it's incredible.
Yeah, and is it because that timeline has been then compressed? Because you've been in the industry for a long time. They haven't, but they have access to different resources so they can learn quicker, basically.
I think it's mostly because the rules are so new that I'm learning the same new things that they are.
So you learn at the same time.
I have more experience to learn, but we are learning the same thing, and we know the levels are not that different.
Interesting. Love that. So can I bring you in on this, Vince? So
Two microphones. Hi, double it up. I don't know.
That's all right.
This one sounds great.
So PJ's just mentioned about emerging talent and new talent, but your company works with understanding audience behavior. So how do you think then that AI is changing the way brands understand audience behavior? Because emerging talent have to do work that speaks to a particular audience, and with AI in the mix, how do you see that changing?
I think that the thing that's helpful about AI is it allows you to think about everything in a different way. Like, to your point, it's kind of becoming new all the time, but I think it will always become new all the time. I think that's the nature of using algorithms to be able to make sense of huge amounts of information, and then giving the keys to the algorithms to the people who can use them that can do pretty much anything they want with them. You're able to speak to it in your own natural voice. It learns what to do based on your speaking. And your speaking is a language that you learn. Like the way we communicate, human language is a technology. We don't often think about it that way, but it literally is a technology we learned as little kids. And then it enables us to connect with each other. And now it's enabling us to connect with algorithms that have learned from the human language as well. It's like this incredible thing, really, when you think about it. So when I think about creative people, and when I work with a lot of creative people, I'm very fortunate to be able to do that. I've been in the AI space for 10 years, so I've been through, I started my career as a creative person, as a sound engineer originally, and in a room where you're just building things with sound, you're alone and you get to experiment and build cool stuff, and you're pretty free because sound is very fluid and very, very kind of malleable. And then being able to do that with algorithms when you're also in that space where you can be experimenting and playing around, I think is incredibly powerful. I think one of the big challenges is that it's also very dangerous because of the bias that's in the model.
That's right, yeah.
You know, it's one thing for me, if I'm building something with sound, to have bias in relation to what I think sounds good. It's a different thing if that thing that sounds good has bias already attached to it. So I think about it in this room today, like, you know, AI is very sexist because humans have been very sexist for a very long time. The model learns that stuff. So I think it's like a very powerful tool, but it's also important to remember it's not just exactly like these other things we've been able to do before. It is charged with this stuff, so it's kind of important to think about.
Fantastic. Meera, what's your thoughts on that, actually? Yeah.
So from a creative point, can you hear me?
Is the mic on? It's on, okay.
Okay, can you hear me now? Yeah, from a creative point of view, I think we are all grappling with the fact that AI is here. We don't know what exactly it means to our business, but there are many people who seem to know it all, and that's what's scary about the space. If you really look at it, if you say machine learning, what is the machine learning? It's learning what we've done in the past. It's not telling us anything about the future. And from the creative point of view, if you're thinking of a new idea, it should be something that's not done before. So here's the dichotomy. Your machine learning is still in the past and the present, And your big idea has to be in the future.
Exactly. No, exactly. Which is actually a nice lead on to my next question for you. How then, because you are a creative leader, so how then do creative leaders then balance imagination and originality while working on tools that are rapidly evolving? Because it's the same thing as what Vince was saying. There is space to experiment, but that leads to things that can come from the future. But AI takes things that have been done before, basically.
Yeah. So yesterday I heard a very interesting way of describing this, which is the sandwich method.
Okay.
You start with the human. The human knows insights, the human has gut feel, the human has empathy, human has emotions, all things that AI doesn't have. Then you move the entire workflow into technology, and then come back as a human to be in touch with the consumer, because you know what hot buttons and triggers to have. So if you try this method, at least until that time, we know things have shaken out and we know where we stand with AI. This seemed to be a good method to use.
Okay. So it's human, computer, human,
Yeah.
right? Okay. And that again ties into what Vince was saying about taste and
Absolutely.
what PJ was saying about understanding. Excellent. Okay. So Anna, let's go to you next. Meera just mentioned a little bit about process, and that's something that your company looks at in terms of AI. So as AI becomes more integrated into businesses and then in turn creative processes, how do you see organizations then balancing intelligence, innovation, and human imagination? So it's a bit of a remix on what I've just asked Meera.
Yeah. Can you hear me? Can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you. Just a brief introduction about Explain, because we are a company focusing on measuring and optimizing attention in every digital channel. So from my point of view, AI can be a powerful tool to create creativities faster and also reduce costs, of course. But the other key point is that AI can also help us to understand before the launch of the campaign which campaign can actually works. So let's take an example.
Okay.
We measured a campaign. I think that everybody knows, like the Levi's campaign of Super Bowl last year. Great campaign, unbelievable, blah blah blah. But the point is that the brand recognition starts after 5 seconds of attention. So what does it mean? That companies can use this creativity in the right placement. So all the placement that have less than 5 seconds of attention won't work, because at the end, the real goal is to pass a message to the users. So I think that this can be incredibly powerful for also understanding before and also changing a bit all the strategy during the campaign itself.
Okay. To make the campaign more successful, to
Sorry?
make the campaign more successful, you're using previous data. Is that
Yeah,
that's
exactly,
correct?
exactly.
Okay. So if you don't mind me, just a riff question, then how then do you predict that something could actually do very well because it is completely different? So if the AI hasn't seen it before, or so you don't have the data on it, does it then lead you to take a little bit more risks? Or do you say, okay, let's just use the data so we know that it's
Yeah,
really successful?
I think that all the companies that will win in the near future are the companies that will use data for in the intelligence part, and also experiment everything like test and learn, and of course use human imagination for storytelling. So if you are combining those 3 pillars, I think that you will win in this digital landscape.
Okay. Because I think we want AI to allow us to extend our creativity, isn't it? To allow us to actually experiment with things that we haven't actually seen before. I saw last month a lady who paints with traffic patterns, and she has everything kind of almost beamed directly into her brain. It was amazing, absolutely amazing. But the AI wouldn't have been able to come up with that, because as far as we know, there is no artist apart from her who is painting with traffic signals and machine learning in that way. So it'll be interesting to see how brands can adopt that kind of like expanded, really experimental creativity. So just on that, because we talked a little bit about using data in order to look at trends. So PJ, I'm going to come back to you on that. So as AI generated content becomes more and more common, both really good work and spot, unfortunately. What will then truly separate impactful creativity from content that simply follows trends? A little bit to what I just mentioned to you about the painter.
I think that we as humanity and as creators of culture in general, not just advertising, but in music and in any form of artistic expression, we always struggled with this idea that they're trends and they're the trend breakers, right?
Yes, exactly.
And the thing is that if you listen to music and to the top 10 music at any given time, the majority of them are going to be a repetition of something. So I think that this thought that we like original things is not necessarily true. We like to have a feeling that this is familiar enough for me to think that we like the label of new, but the feeling of old.
Love that.
But at the same time, and I think that this is, I keep hearing about how our taste is our difference between us and the computers. I think the biggest assets that we have that computers don't is our ability to get bored. We see things that we like, and I really like it. But eventually you get bored with it. Computers don't understand boredom in a visceral level, and I think that is something that makes it special. Our ability to look and appreciate what we have seen before, but eventually feel like, okay, enough.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, and that is then what can spark creativity, isn't it? You know, just getting rid of that feeling of it's boring. Yeah.
So I write, one of the things that I do, I write novels, right? And I was launching one of my books, and one woman in the audience kind of asked me, so are you going to write your next book with AI? Because the book was, one of the characters was an AI. So is your next book going to be AI? And that shook me to my core, because I knew that the answer was no. But why? And I think that I realized that I always thought of creativity as a way to solve a problem. That's how we talk about this in this town. But then I looked at it, I don't use my writing creativity to solve a problem of putting a book on the shelves and selling.
Yeah.
I write those books because I have a story in my head, and if I don't write it, I die. And I think that it shifted how I think about creativity as less of a way of thinking and a problem-solving thing. Is more, this is an impulse. It's really an impulse that everyone has, and it's very endearing and very fascinating for everyone, because we all have it, but most of us keep it guarded because we have our heart broken someday that we told a joke and no one laughed, and we made a painting and no one liked it, but some of us keep doing it.
Yeah.
And I think that risk that we take as creative beings is as fascinating for the rest of humanity as the UFC fighter that takes the risk of getting punched in the face, or the astronaut that takes the risk of never returning back. And or the pirate that we watch in the movie, that's, oh my God, it's so cool and romantic and great. I mean, that risk that we take is an intellectual risk, but still a risk, is what makes it so special about creativity. And that's why I think that in the end, no matter how incredible computers can be, the technology can be and help and influence this process, in the end, people appreciate creativity because there's a person on the other side that took a risk that they wish. So I think we're going to be good. I'm actually very optimistic about the future.
Fabulous. And going back to what you said about expression as well, AI can't really express, can it? You know, I know we all talk about the things with AI and being human-centric, so we have taste, like I mentioned before, and speed and efficiency. But I think there's something deeply human about taking the time to do something. So I can almost see why you were offended with the AI question. It's like, why would you write it with AI? Just to do it faster? You know, you still want to express, but you don't want to do it faster. You want to take the time to be able to express yourself in your writing, isn't it? You know, yeah. And that's an interesting question. So for you, Vince, do you think, just riffing on that, do you think that then brands, what are some of the opportunities and then risks that brands should consider while adopting AI-driven decision-making? Just on that point about expression, because this is now no longer individual expression, but more brand expression.
Yeah, you know, I think I think that it's important that people understand how AI works and that there's bias in the system of AI. You have bias in the data that goes into the models. And if that data has bias in it and your models pick up on it, and just because it is accurately saying this thing is true from the data that it's looking at, it will be wrong. And you will think it's true because it's just in the environment of what it's in. So the bias that's in that data will show up in the output. Same with the model itself. It learns from data, it's been created by humans, it's been learning through math, it has bias attached to it as well. So all these things are kind of important, especially if you're thinking about it in relation to a brand and how does a brand kind of exist in the world. But then it's like, well, now that we are aware of the system has flaws and is, you know, something that is just math that is learning from information, what information could we give it? And could we give it more information coming from more places to help reduce some of that bias?
I see.
So if you have a whole bunch of conversations that are happening on social media, if you look at all the things that humans are saying, all the creators are saying, all the creatives are saying, how do you then classify that stuff? And then if you can classify it and understand it by your human team that are working on the AI to try to understand the output of it, then you can say, okay, we believe this thing means this thing. We've trained this model to classify that thing. We then can point it at unstructured information, new information, and then see what it says there too.
Okay.
So then you have a new learning layer that can sit on top of that because you have classified an unstructured place. And with that, you can then maybe find some new insight. Maybe you can see how a certain audience is responding to a certain thing. Maybe you can learn about an audience and then target that audience in a different way because you can run different kinds of experiments than you were able to do before. So I think like that's an integral piece of it. And I love what you said about the nothingness of humanity, of like when you're not thinking at all and you're just taking a break. And then also the thing you said about at the end of the thing, you put the thing out there in the world and nothing happens. And it's like this new emptiness, which is such a human thing to be able to experience. Like machines absolutely do not have emptiness. They're math. They're literally not human at all. And the more we think about them as human or like talk about them like they're human is really kind of missing the point of what's happening. And it really changes the way you use them and think about them because they're just helpful tools and they're a bunch of really interesting math. But you kind of it's important not to anthropomorphize too much. I think.
Yeah, I think that's the key there, isn't it? I think so. So Meera, again, just on Vince's point there, do you think then that the creative industry will push more towards experimentation and innovation and iteration, because that's what I got from what you just said there, Vince, about how you can do loads and loads of different iterations and then you can put out the one that you think would work the best. Or do you think it's going to go to just greater standardization and homogeny?
So actually now we are all grappling with AI and we come across as people who think AI is the bad guy. It's not. It never asked to replace us actually. So either you end up resisting it or you end up blindly falling for it. But there's a third way. You can leverage it. And I think we're not yet letting it shake out into a certain kind of a symbiosis with us that we keep panicking about it and doing something wrong with it.
Gotcha.
So the ones who just fall for it will create the standardization.
Right.
The ones who leverage it would create the differentiation.
Okay. But if the standardization then becomes something that people kind of respond to, because obviously if it were, just going back to what you were saying, Anna, if the data then says that, oh, if we do all of this the same way, then it's going to, make money or it's going to get attention, which I'll talk about in a minute. Do you think that that's what will push the industry towards that? Because that's results.
Yeah, but ultimately it's the human judgment that decides that.
Okay.
Because either you want to get the money or you want to be creative or you have an intention. And if that AI-driven thing doesn't meet your intention, then it's the wrong thing to do.
Okay. And that's what brands should kind of really keep
That's
at the back of their
the
minds.
yardstick by which we measure it.
Yeah, awesome. So PJ, you mentioned before about putting your work out into the world and people not responding to it or not responding to it the way that you would like them to. So as we all know, that attention now is the new currency. So I'd like to ask both you and Anna, because of that new attention currency in a cookie-less world, which you can read two ways, right? No cookies or no internet cookies. How can AI then help brands measure creative effectiveness, deliver relevance, and build consumer trust? That's a question to both of you, because I can see you look at it from two different viewpoints. So I'll start with you, Anna. Yeah.
Thank you. I think that this question is also more about media, not just creativity. Because I think that for ages, advertising measure like delivery signals, for example, viability, completion rate, but all those signals doesn't represent the real human behavior. So, for example, if we measure like the average viability of a campaign, we can easily reach like 75%, and also 80% of video are in general completed. However, if we run an eye tracking study, we can discover easily that 50% of the ads are totally ignored from the users, and it means that the users see the ads less than 0.2 seconds. That is nothing, so your brain can record anything. And just 10% of the ads in the open web can achieve at least 2 seconds of attention. So I think that AI can enhance also to understand better what is actually working, combining all those signals. So we are using a model based on a large eye tracking data set in order to understand what is actually seen, not just what is viewable in the screen.
Gotcha. Okay. Okay. Excellent. Excellent. PJ, your response to that?
I'll say that we need to learn to make the changes are so dramatic that we're going through that we're going to need to learn to ask ourselves the more honest questions. And one of the most honest and difficult questions that we need to answer when you're working in the marketing world with advertising, variations of it, is if that test that we have at hand, are we just trying to optimize and get something that has done before in a safe way, or we are actually trying to do something that is new, that is going to make people look at you differently? Yeah. And I think that it sounds like I have my own bias here for no, the new things is, of course, is better because this is Can after all. Sometimes, if you ask that question very honestly to the client on the corner, and say, no, this one, I just need to have something that is guaranteed to work. Exactly. Because there's too much at risk.
Exactly.
Okay, fine. But having the right and giving ourselves the permission to answer that with enough honesty, I think will make a big difference, because I think we pretend a lot. We pretend to want to pose as the big innovators, but forcing a system towards innovation when all we want is optimization is dishonest and spends too much energy with the wrong things.
In the wrong place. Yeah, 100% agree, 100%. Well, we're running out of time, but I'd like to ask just one more question for each of you. I know that AI comes with its own set of fear that is for creatives and for brands as well. Can we use it? How can we use it? What would it do? Is it safe, etc.? So I'd like to hear from all of you so we can end on a positive note. What's the one thing that excites you about using AI?
So, with every decade, there comes something that makes you re-examine who you are and learn something new. I think the challenge here is to keep learning something new. And we may be many years and decades in the advertising industry, but just like PJ said, a little kid can catch up with us any day. So if you don't keep learning, the excitement of learning, I think, is what AI brings to the table.
Lovely. And that curiosity, right?
Absolutely.
Excellent. Anna, what's your take on that?
Thank you. I think that I have a bias on it, because but yeah, what is exciting me the most is not just about generating like creativity, but it's also understanding which creativity actually works or not. So can be like super easy, and I think that in the past all the companies have done like launch the campaign, waiting for the results, and after a few months start again to do a campaign. So I think that this model is completely changed. So you can like test, understand in the same time, and so you can structure better your assets, your creativity, everything. So this is something that like the creativity is not a product itself, but can be like an ecosystem that can work for it.
Absolutely. And you can create your own creative ecosystem,
exactly.
Can't you? Excellent. Excellent. Vince?
I'm really excited about the unknown unknowns.
Okay.
So the things we don't yet even know we don't know yet. Like the ways that we can go into new places with new ideas as people because we can use the machines to structure what we knew before. Right, so you can like have a little Lego block house that you build with all the stuff that you know and that you feel confident about, and this idea that you have, or maybe an experiment you want to run, and then now you'd be like, well, what is there a cloud above the Lego house, and then how could a cloud float above Lego, and like, do I need a stick to do it, or like? But this is a terrible analogy because of the structure of the Lego. But the idea being that like where can we go now, and how can we compound the knowledge that we have personally by using these models and structuring in the right way and using them as like foundational helpers, and then from there, how does our human creativity build on top? So I think that gets really exciting.
Fab. So it doesn't frighten you, that unknown. It's like going into deep space, right? It doesn't scare you. It's like, oh, we can explore it.
Yeah, the unknowns to me are the most exciting things. Yeah.
Cool. And lastly, PJ.
So at the lowest, simplest level, I love the idea. I mean, I haven't had this much fun in my entire career, as I'm having now, and mostly because I could just go in my backyard, take my phone, and if I have a thought, I'll make it. And then I'll see if it's great, if it's horrible, or if it's becomes something else. The idea of actually making, and the potential is transformative in terms of what happens in day by day. But I think that in a more philosophical level, what changed it for me is that the most fundamental question that I keep asking myself, and is a question that moves me forward, is that question of what will I do now that I can?
Nice.
Because we can do so many more things that we haven't ever imagined, that just keeping asking yourself that question changes everything.
Fantastic. You just have to keep that whole Jurassic Park thing in place, right? Just because we can do it.
Yeah.
Should we? Should we? Excellent. Well, that's all we have time for. So I just want to say thank you very much to the panel. Some great insights and some great things that you shared with us.